start.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is an occasion to rejoice because we are celebrating the National Science Day. That's under the aegis of the International Science Center and the Science Museum Day. That's on the 10th of November. The topic for today's presentation that I'm going to give is the science for and with society in dealing with COVID-19. Now, COVID-19 is a buzzword nowadays because of the pandemic that has resulted out of this particular virus. Although many of us have been reading about it for a very, very long time, however, if you try to see the intricacies of this virus and why it is so different than many of the other viruses, we have to look into the detailed aspect of it. Now, how science can play a role to educate the society is also to be considered in such cases, because many areas of the world, including many parts of India, there are scientific illiteracy which leads to confusion in the minds of people. Viruses are really very, very devastating in certain cases, and this particular virus, the COVID-19, has been the most devastating almost in the last 100 years, and that is why I thought it prudent to talk about it. I would be speaking briefly about what viruses are and how COVID is related to that, COVID-19, how that is one of those very, very destructive type of viruses, and then what are the parameters that we have to consider while evaluating the impact of the COVID-19. May I have the first slide, please? Let's see what are the basics of the COVID-19. May I have the next, please? Most of us actually do not know much about the viruses. They consider it just as a pathogen, some kind of insect or some kind of a biological entity which has been affecting people in masses, killing people, and that's all most of us actually know, and we always try to ponder about it. Next, please. A virus is genetic material contained within an organic particle that invades living cells and uses their host metabolic processes to produce a new generation of viral particles. The way they do this varies. Some insert their genetic material into the host DNA, where it can sit in wait until it is translated at a later date. As the host cell replicates itself, it can make new viruses. Next. Viruses can also burst their host cell as they expand in numbers in what's called as a lytic cycle of reproduction. The word virus comes from a Latin word describing poisonous liquids. This is because early forms of isolating and imaging microbes couldn't capture such tiny particles. It's a pathogen or disease-causing agent, not considering living because it cannot reproduce on its own. So you can have actually a cartoon out here, another one here, and these viruses can be of different types. Next, please. As you can see, this is bacteriophage, this is adenovirus, this is human immunodeficiency virus. So there are many types of viruses, and these are actually very tiny. These are large diagrams that I have shown, where you can see there is the internal material, the external material, an envelope, and these protruding elements of the virus. And this is the one we are going to actually discuss. Next, please. The COVID-19 has been imaged using TEM and some specialized kind of microscopes. These can go very deeper into the enlargement, where it can be billions of times. Here you can see the main container of the genetic material, and here you have these protruding parts. So it looks beautiful otherwise. Next, please. However, in the anatomy of a virus, we can see the COVID-19 has several features. We may be able to target with the drugs to break it, down or stop it entering cells. This RNA enclosed in protein out here in the internalmost part. Then there's a spike protein, these red protrusions as you can see. Then there's a lipid membrane which is covering the RNA. So this is how the basic anatomy of a virus is. Next please. A close-up view of the virus and how they actually occur in millions can be seen here. These are the living cells, and here we have a cluster of viruses. Next please. The temperature sensitivity of SARS or COVID-2 has been calculated. For COVID-19 it is yet to be calculated. We can see that at 4 degrees Celsius they can start multiplying in a day, in 7 days, in 14 days. At 22 degrees Celsius you can see there is a little less number of growth. In 7 days they almost taper out. At 37 degrees Celsius, that the new normal human temperature, here we can see that they can grow up to a day, as you can see. And then at 56 degrees Celsius they actually become still less, and at 70 degrees Celsius they are very, very negligible. So this is how infectious SARS-CoV-2 has been worked out, almost parallel to what we have in COVID-19. Next please. Now, many of us are having confusion about the size of the COVID-19. Actually, it's very, 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 very tiny. It's not even in width equals to the hair of a human hair, which is almost 100 micron. And in this 100 micron, there would be almost 1,000 of these COVID-19 viruses in the width of it. So if you just have a cross section, there would be almost 10 million of these COVID viruses in one cross section. So this is the SEM image of a human hair. As you can see, it's of the order of about 100 nanometers, where this is 1 micron. The bacteria are almost 10 times to 100 times larger, and here we have the human hair. So you can see these are the tiniest tiniest entities that actually affect the health. Next please. Let's come to the latest data available with us, which is related to the COVID-19 related person. This is the WHO data till last evening, that's on 9th of November. You can see that with the confirmed cases of 50, we have 1.2 million people, they have already been dead. And here it starts from January 31st to October 31st, and then November 9th. So that's the data. Next please. Distribution wise, as you can see, in America it's almost 21 million, in Europe 13, Southeast Asia almost 9.6, Eastern Mediterranean 3.3, Africa 1.3, and Western Pacific less than a million. And here you can see we belong to Southeast Asia, the violet part. As you can see, in the Southeast Asia, it has not been much. Next please. We will further enlarge it. Here you can see almost 9.6 million cases till last evening, where now we have already actually crossed the peak somewhere around the August 31st, and now you can see it's slowly waning out. That is actually a good sign. Next please. In India, it's vertically exaggerated data as I am showing it here. There are confirmed cases of almost 8 million people, where you can see the curve actually rose and it reached at the end of August somewhere here, and now it's waning out. So here again the situation is improving. Next please. Now, where exactly in the human body the COVID-19 attacks? It actually attacks the lung portion, the lungs, and that is the portion where actually the impact of COVID-19 is such where it destroys the cells of the lung, and eventually the lung collapses, and in case of precarious conditions a human being can die. So primarily it affects the lungs through the nostrils as well as through the tongue portion. Next please. As you can see here, the coughing through this particular region, through the lung areas. Here this portion over here is the first site where the COVID-19 resides, and it slowly moves down and gets into the lung portion on both the sides. And when somebody coughs out, it actually throws millions and billions of these COVID-19 into the atmosphere. Next please. An exclusive picture of the patient's throat infected with coronavirus COVID-19 showing the extent of inflammation and destruction that affected the throat and entrance to the lungs, which was caused by the virus in the first days of the infection. Taste and severe shortness of breath was already there. So you can see this is the particular esophagus area where the COVID-19 resides on the very first day, and that's why if early action is taken at that stage, it can actually help a patient. Next please. Now a lot of people, as you can see, they are the spreaders. So if they put a mask, they can actually help not to spread it widely. Next. This is a cartoon made by a young child of class 8th, where in India the cleaning system as well as making people taking care of not to make the police taking action where they are not allowing large groups of people to be together, and such kind of situation that actually helped India to recover from the pandemic. Next please. Now here many of the times we are not able to actually decipher the level, because one simple sneeze, सिर्फ एक बार खांसने के बाद, एक बार छींकने के बाद, आप millions of these particulate matter, it gets spread through the mouth, as you can see, in just one sneeze, and it is actually spreading out. Anybody coming into the near vicinity of it is catching it up. Next please. And therefore, if we put a shield like this with a cover out there, so anybody is throwing out such large number of billions of viral loads, it can prevent a person. So this kind of activity can actually help. Next please. The study suggests that the droplets of various sizes are trapped in a turbulent gas cloud, allowing them to travel up to 26 feet. These are the aerosols, and this turbulent gas cloud actually can go as long as here. These drops fall continuously depending on weight and other factors. The most visible drops would fall within 6 feet. So actually the physical distance of 6 feet has been taken to be one of the preventive measures where the major viral load can actually be avoided. Now here I must tell clearly that the size of the virus is very small, 70 to 100 nanometers, and therefore any kind of putting up of cloth cover is not going to help, because that has got pores which are much larger. However, since these COVID and other viruses need some mechanisms to travel, like aerosol, like small droplets, so these droplets are normally of a larger size. So that is how it is suggested that putting up some kind of obstruction from the mouth from one person to another can help. Next please. And as I said, 6 feet of distance between the people can actually help in the reduction of the spread of this virus. Next please. And for big large community, especially in market areas, if we keep a safer distance of at least almost 2 meters from one another, that can also help to contain the virus. Next please. Now the biggest remedy, or how to actually melt down this virus, since viral virus is not a living creature. It's a kind of a biochemical. So that can actually be cleaned with the simple soap solution, washing your hands by 20 seconds to 30 seconds, and it can actually, with lot of foam out there, the protein cover and the other genetic material is actually, it melts very quickly. It's the fastest way to remove the virus, and that's why it is suggested that repeatedly in a day one must wash their hands along with especially the nails, under the nails and the top part of the hand, so that anything that we touch which has the viral load cannot be transmitted to our nose area, because from nose and mouth basically it enters. Next please. So the good old soap is very useful as the number of SARS-CoV-2. Well, the good old soap, as the number of SARS-CoV-2 cases continues to rise globally, washing hands thoroughly with soap or alcohol-based hand sanitizer has been advised as a preventive measure. We look at how a soap and water combination help wash the virus away is shown in this diagram, where both of these are effective, because the alcohol is very useful in melting out the chemical that is contained in the virus, and so is the soap because of the surface tension. So basically these two things are very useful in destroying the compound that contains the virus. Next please. Now the face mask against COVID-19, this has been considered to be one of the biggest and the most effective way. As I said, although the virus itself is very small, but when it is transmitted through an aerosol, it is contained in droplets of saliva or droplets of water, and therefore putting up a mask actually and keeping a physical distance of about 6 feet is one of the better ways to avoid the transmitting aspect of the virus. Next please. This hand sanitizer is useful because we touch the surfaces which might be touched by a virus, a viral person having the virus, and therefore it can get to our nose through these fingers, and repeatedly if you are using a sanitizer, a hand sanitizer, it actually helps in getting the virus to be destroyed, and therefore it's always advisable to use the sanitizer. Next please. Now using disinfectant can help because it cleans up the air, as well as sometimes it also helps in cleaning out the surfaces, and large areas can be sanitized using such kind of fogging. So that is another way. Next please. Now, can inhaling steam cure COVID? Well, it's primarily useful in one way if we see the aspect of the physics. The COVID, as we have seen in one of the earlier slides, at 70 degrees Celsius it becomes very inert to multiply, and therefore steam having the latent heat is actually useful, because when we take the steam it gets into our lung area through the throat, and since throat and lungs are the major areas to reside for the virus, the COVID-19, so higher temperature of steam, obviously it should not be very high, so steam inhaling can help in containing the viral load to multiply. So that is certainly an effective way. Next please. Now vaccines. Let's see what a vaccine is. A vaccine is a biological preparation that provides active acquired immunity to a particular infectious disease. A vaccine typically contains an agent that resembles disease-causing microorganisms and is often made from weakened or killed forms of the microbe. Its toxins or one of its surfaces surface proteins. Next please. As of now, a number of laboratories all across the world, including India, they are trying to generate or to make a vaccine, because vaccine is something which makes the immune system of human body to act against such attack of viruses. So far there has been positive signs, but vaccine has yet to come out on a commercial level. Multiple level of testing is going on, and perhaps it would take another 1 year by the time it is available for masses. This vaccine would perhaps be the only remedy for the spread of this COVID-19 kind of virus, and therefore people in general should be aware that they have to take the safety precautions for next 1 year before we have the vaccine. So vaccination, once the vaccine is ready and is available for masses, it would be certainly a major breakthrough in getting the people in general being affected by the COVID-19. Next please. To date, there are no specific vaccines or medicines for COVID-19. Treatments are under investigation and will be tested through clinical trials. That's what the World Health Organization has said. And obviously certain medicines are useful in bringing down the temperature. There are a few available on a commercial scale, but certainly 3 groups of people are most prone to attack by these viruses: the young children, the very elderly people, and the people who have some other kind of disease, because their immune system is weak. So it must be clearly understood that these 3 groups of people should be first to avoid any major communication with people or going out for in the market. They should always take precautions, and unless or until it's very necessary, they should avoid going outside, and unless we have the vaccines available, it would be precarious for them. Next please. So as of now, the situation is still grim. There are hopes which are there, because we have a vaccine in certain 2 or 3 clinical trial stages that has passed through. The doctors are working overtime to take care of the patients. They are really the warriors of the COVID-19 and the pandemic spread by it, and therefore we have to be very, very careful, and scientifically speaking, we have to understand the mechanism, the chemical aspect of these viruses, as well as the biological aspect, how they affect the different parts of the body. And I think it is imperative for us to realize that we still need 1 year to 2 years before venturing out in a normal way as we used to do before the spread of the virus in December 2019. Next please. Some COVID-related myths I would like to share. First, is spraying alcohol or chlorine all over the body kills coronavirus? Well, this does not kill the virus. Virus cannot be killed because it's a biochemical. It's not a living entity by itself. So it can. That is one. The second myth is mustard oil can help prevent COVID-19. Sarson ka tel. Well, this is not true. Third, fever, cough, and difficulty in breathing are symptoms of COVID-19. Yes, these are the symptoms of COVID-19. Fourth, inhaling steam kills the virus. Inhaling hot water steam does not kill the virus, but it can certainly reduce the impact. Then, money transferred to the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana account will be taken back if not withdrawn. This is a baseless rumor, because various kinds of government programs are going around for the COVID-related, pandemic-related issues, for medical assistance. So many myths are there. Next please. Thermal scanners are effective in detecting people who have a fever that is they have a higher than the normal body temperature, they cannot detect people who are infected with COVID-19. This is another fact which people must realize. Thermal scanners are just to scan the temperature, and normally a higher temperature is an indicative of some kind of disease which can be COVID related as well. There are many causes of fever. Call your healthcare provider if you need assistance, or seek immediate medical care if you have fever and live in an area with malaria or dengue. That's what World Health Organization has suggested. So thermal scanners cannot detect COVID-19. Next please. The virus that causes COVID-19 is in a family of viruses called Coronaviridae. Antibiotics do not work against viruses. Some people who become ill with COVID-19 can also develop a bacterial infection as a complication. In this case, antibiotics may be recommended by a healthcare provider. There is currently no licensed medication to cure COVID-19. If you have symptoms, call your healthcare provider or COVID-19 hotline for assistance. So the fact is that COVID-19 is caused by a virus, not a bacteria. Next please. So eventually at personal level, we need perinatal transmission related, between mother and child. There can be community spread, as you can see, people in mohallas and big common areas in big buildings, they should avoid it. There are the schools where social, people, the young children, they meet each other, they should avoid that. And then that's intrafamilial transmission. Somebody has got the COVID infection, and in the same family they are living in the same housing area. Unless or until they keep a segregation with the patient, there is every possibility of spreading of the virus. Next please. So the work from home, that is an interesting aspect, the side effect of the COVID-19 impact, where many of these organizations and companies, they've asked their people to work from home, because avoiding traveling from home to office and such kind of thing can help. At the same time, a patient would not be a spreader going out and spreading it outside to many other commuters in buses and cars and common areas, metros, etc. So working from home, although lately it has become quite a deceptive aspect of a social life, however, that is one way to avoid the getting the virus. Next please. So we have to fight it out with our scientific knowledge. We have to fight out the pandemic related issues by our understanding of the mechanism how COVID spreads. We have to fight it out using as much of precautions available, like putting up a mask, using hand sanitizer, spreading or cleaning up the areas, avoiding handles of common areas like bathrooms, etc. in public places, not touching the bus handles or seats by hand, because through hand it can get to our nose, and through nose it can get to our throat, and through throat it can get to our lungs, and eventually it becomes very, very dangerous. So such kind of avoidance can help us out in many, many ways. So we have to fight it out, because we need a future which is much safe, much healthier for each and every person of the world. The scientific consensus in the COVID-19 pandemic, we need to act now. The evidence is very clear. Controlling community spread of COVID-19 is the best way to protect our societies and economies until safe and effective vaccines and their therapeutics arrive within the coming months. We cannot afford distractions that undermine an effective response. It is essential that we act urgently based on the evidence. Next. So, the science news is that fighting the virus is going on. All kinds of experiments are going on. people are being made aware the impact in general and the limitation that are there in a scientific way to take have the cure, the non-availability of the vaccines, and such kind of things still need people in general to act at their own level, at their individual level, at their family level, at their community level, at their national level, and at the global level. Together we will win, and that's my hope. Thank you very much.